Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad, to whom praise is forever due. We are thankful to him for raising in our midst the promised Messiah and exalted Christ, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we thank them both for their mercy in our midst, their perfected representative, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet you again, Assalamu alaikum. And also happy Savior's Day as we continue to rejoice. Yes. I just want to express my own personal gratitude to Allah, to His Christ, to their representative, for all of you. This is a great time to be melanin dominated. Yes. And for the minister to be, as the Final Call newspaper said it, they said it right. I mean, to put the right words on the cover, "Here I stand." And I think he put the final nail in the coffin of the synagogue of Satan, the deception and the lies. And it has their world as it goes out in a turmoil right now. And so there is a lot of propaganda out attacking the minister, the usual, anti-Semitic. And of course now they are attacking black people who associate with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It has to be so devastating to our enemy for all of these photos to start emerging of black people hugging the minister. And I said to someone recently, I said, do you have any idea how upset these Jews are? I said, imagine Pharaoh coming upon pictures of his enchanters doing this with Moses and Aaron. All right. Smiling and loving him. And so now they're zeroing in on the people that stand with the minister. And the latest thing I saw today from the ADL, there was a heading, "Why do we continue to tolerate Louis Farrakhan?" And I was thinking to myself, why do we continue to tolerate you? You have got to get off our planet. If you remember during Savior's Day, the minister talked about the one more thing that he had to do before he could see the Honorable Elijah Muhammad face to face. And in the 32 years since the vision, all of the times he has said, maybe this is it, maybe this is it. And he talked about over the weekend how it came to him that, I've been obedient to my teacher, but the one thing I haven't done is this. He said, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told me, eat one meal a day, then eat one meal every other day, and then move to one meal every 3 days and stay there for the rest of your life. And so if you remember, and I know it definitely hit me hard, when he taught this weekend very pointedly on obesity, on disobedience, to how to eat to live, the way of life that we have been given that will save our lives. And, Sister Renetta, you talked about it earlier today when we were talking about all that they are doing to the food. And he said back in the 60s, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they poisoned everything, including the water. And so we do what we can. We have to be strategic in how we shop for food and where we go. And I was always taught to be unpredictable. Don't go to the same place every day. Don't show up at the same time. These kinds of things. Don't come in and out of your house at the same time. You have to be unpredictable. But above all, we need to obey our leader who told us to begin setting up our communities as safe and decent places to live. And that includes beginning to grow our own food and beginning to withdraw from this deadly world. And so he told us that 1 meal a day is the law, and we know we're on a national fast now because we were taught that if you can move to 1 meal every 3 days, you will virtually be free of 99% of any afflictions. And this is how we will begin to reverse in age. Now, the last time I was here, I had not seen Black Panther, but I've seen it twice now since Savior's Day. Okay, when I was captivated. But one of the things I want to say about that film is I listened to our discussion night. I was making notes. If you notice in that film, and you know, you have to look at why are Black people so drawn to this? And not only Black people, but Caucasians are 35% of the audience. Why is everybody drawn? Well, of course it's our time. Of course the Black man is God. But when I went to see it the second time, I was a little bit more studious and analytical, and I wrote these things down. In that film, you never saw them eating. Now, when they were walking around in the Capitol, because it was so beautiful, because they were regular Black people. And they were Black people both from the continent and from here that were the cast. But I've never seen any film reconnect the Black man in Africa and the Black man in the United States the way this film did, in the real way. They showed you the source of the disconnect. And they went right from Wakanda to Oakland, okay? Right in the hood, the home of the Black Panthers here in America. And the lost and found, you know, being lost from our people because we were stolen. And if you remember, Michael B. Jordan said when he was in the museum, he told the white woman, she said, well, this isn't for sale. And he said, well, how did you get all of these artifacts? You didn't buy them. You stole them from our country like you stole everything else. So there are some pointed messages, but I noticed, you know, this is a family film. It's pushing up on $1 billion. It's a family film that you can take your children. But they never ate. There was no profanity. There were no sex scenes. There was no clowning. There was no homosexuality. No drugs. It was a bridge from where our people are to where they're going, which is to Islam, because even in what was demonstrated in that film, you might want to set that within the last 50,000 years. And we've always had the plains, always. We used the plains to put the mountains in the earth. So the baby plains there, the high technology that is on the mother plane, they're showing you that Black people are the answer to every problem on the earth. But to the extent that they were showing a Black man, and because we're looking at these questions, and I thank Brother Troy and Sister Stacy for the work they do on these assignments every week, including the bonus questions and reading Brother Jabril Muhammad, whom the minister spoke of extensively in the laborers meeting during Savior's Day, how important it is for us to read the writings of Brother Jabril Muhammad. But when you go through this study and how the minister exposed all of this, the Black man and woman under assault, in that film you saw Black love. You saw a Black man and a Black woman in a loving relationship, and he was a man who had enough sense of himself that he could listen to his woman. when she gave him advice. And she was able to render advice without compromising his manhood. And this is what we've been pulled away from, is the natural respect that we have. Here's a man who's man enough to have an all-female security detail. But I tell you what, Minister Farrakhan stepped up in what I consider, since I've been in the nation, the most dangerous situation we've ever been in. And that is when we went up in New York City, in the hornet nest of the Jews, in Madison Square Garden, when they were yelling death to Farrakhan. And we're on Manhattan Island surrounded by them, but then black people poured out of Harlem and the Bronx, and there were 25,000 black people in Madison Square Garden, 25,000 black people outside of Madison Square Garden because there was no room, and then the police and the army everywhere. And we went in there prepared to die that night. And so the minister, what I'm about to say, what he did was not for show. And he stepped out with the vanguard, an all-female security detail. I was on rostrum post that night because the stage was a circle. And I had my back to the minister the entire time, just looking at my little segment that they assigned each of us that were on the outer perimeter a segment of the audience. And I made up my mind, if somebody even moves, I'm going to dive into this audience. So Minister Farrakhan had that all-female security detail back in 1985. And I say that to say that this can be a catalyst for us, but we have to hurry up and manifest the reality. Wakanda is fictionalized. Fictionalized is not fantasy. Fictionalized is when you have an underlying reality, but you change some of the facts. Well, that's what Wakanda is. There is an underlying reality that you and I know about. And we know how real it is. But as Master Fard Muhammad said, only a few, you, me, and a few others who have the vision. We can see in our mind's eye what Minister Farrakhan is telling us. But the majority of our people, the 85%, they will not come until we build them a model. And when we build that model, they will come. And so this year has to be a year of action. The book says, in the beginning was the word. In the beginning, not throughout. In the beginning. So Minister Farrakhan has given the word. He's exhausted the word. We've been given the truth in its pure, full, bright sunlight clarity. There's nothing else for anybody to say. That's right. So the word is in the beginning, but at a certain point it has to become flesh. That's right. So this has to be, beloved, a year of action for us. And we have to be as intense and committed to making his word bond as he has been to making his teacher's word bond. And I'm telling you, for you to make it out here on Friday night, it's hard. I know it is. Because Satan is fighting with everything he's got to stop this from happening, but he can't. He can't stop it. So the only issue is, do we want to be in that number? And I know I do. I'm trying to hang. Okay. So I thank Allah for all of you. May Allah bless us with a peaceful evening and get home safely. We have MGT tomorrow. We have a mosque meeting on Sunday, FOI on Monday. let's just go out here and fish among the people, but let's take advantage of how they're feeling right now. Because after you look up on that screen at all those beautiful black folks and their seriousness, they have humor, but they're not silly.
Right.
And they will respond and deal with you, and they do possess the highest technology. So after our people bask in that type of experience, we don't read, we don't want to even listen to sound doctrine, but the optics and the love of the music, that fabulous soundtrack, oh yeah, they've been somewhere they don't want to come back from. So before they go back to Atlanta Housewives and Empire and all that, let's grab them and bring them in. May Allah bless us with love and the light of understanding. Assalamu alaikum. Brother Troy, come on up. He's going to close us out. Thank you, Brother Troy.
Thank you. Can we give another round of applause? Well, there's nothing to say. She said it all. Let's stand for prayer.